Let me show you. Let me show you. I'm kind of keeping a collection of my faves here. And
How many syllables altogether?
17 altogether. So we're going to talk about blackout poetry in just a second here. But here is kind of a running collection so far of ones that I like. Summers are too hot, winters border on Arctic. Where's the balance? Such a good question. Saw a guy with a bird walking around downtown. This is normal here.
That's true.
So true. So true. The frigid wind bites at the legs of the college girls who wear short dresses.
They get on my nerves. Like, it's freezing and they walk around downtown. Like, it's not cold at all.
It's-
I'm happy.
It's the quirks of living right where we are. I thought this one was really lovely. Our hearts are like crops through tornadoes. Or our hearts are like crops. Through tornadoes we stay strong and soak up the sun. I like that. I mean, right? Come on. That's like that's full of imagery, pictures, man.
I want.
All right. And yeah, you guys just did a really. I'm eager to see what you turned in when you get back to your book. Sure.
Yeah.
Just as long as I have it tonight.
Okay.
Yeah. Will you pass forward your haikus? I will score those for you. If you are needing extra time because you were late or absent, remember that is on one hand, if you're absent, perfectly okay and understandable. If you're late, however, it's better to turn in when you got to the finish than never turning it in at all. Okay, so take time. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, what we are going to start today, our next experimental draft, is going to be related, is going to be about, or an example of, I should say, blackout poetry. Okay? So if you have your Chromebooks out, you can put those away. We will not need them anymore today. All right? I want to show you what we're going to spend time between now and tomorrow creating. So all of these are examples of blackout poems, or in the biz, poets may call these erasure poems, like you use an eraser to black out everything else. All right. So what you'll notice as you look at these is they are all what are called found poems. So no poet who writes this way, writes poetry this way, actually writes a word. Found poems are borrowed material that is reinvented and put into a new form.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay? So what you'll have with a blackout poem is somebody else's words being renegotiated into a new form of literature. We also will notice that all of these have some visual elements that either help represent the theme or the mood. Okay, so that's something to think about. All right? And some of these get awfully cryptic. So for instance, time admitted justice, led the blooming, knowing at the mention to suspect, to tell, matters spirited away, more than ever superstition change, being deserted by the ghost of distance, melancholy hymn tune of a hollow. Okay. Either way, it looks lovely and it's kind of cool to read. Okay. But you got loads of examples for how this may all fit together. Now you've got some that are meant to be read in a very linear fashion. So start at the top of the page, end at the bottom of the page. Then you've got stuff like this that it looks like it starts in a pretty linear way, but notice the arrows. For instance, the is 2 lines below process. And so as they blacked out, they gave you sort of directions as to how to read through the work. Same with this one, where you have the blurbs that are not necessarily serving the message, but helping the reader understand how it's meant to be read. Okay? This one's really curly. It actually starts down here, and then you follow the line
Isn't that like
around. With that?
creative?
So again, how I want you to think about these experimentations, every last one of them is not necessarily pulling on your own poetic ideas or crawling inside like the world. I want you to play with words and see how they fit together in a way that you think is cool. Okay?
That'd be funny.
So this is kind of where we're going with some really extremely cool examples that I was able to find in a few that I had. Okay, so a couple of pointers. Let me pull this up here. A couple of pointers as we work. All right. First off, I didn't want to come in completely cold. It's been a hot minute since I wrote my own. Created. Keith Murray. Keep the classy that trash in this room.
Yes, put that finger away.
My what?
Okay.
So the first step I don't hate, but this is like my first time through in a couple of years of doing this. So notice I used pen. And notice also when I approached this page that I was going to try to make sense of poetically, I didn't approach it very experimentally. Okay, I really, as I was choosing things, I only circled the next thing if it kind of melded with what I had already circled on the page, which I don't necessarily, I mean, like it didn't necessarily turn out bad, but I'll show you kind of what I was able to do next. All right, so you have innocent man on death row, innocent men on death row, a mistake, a series of mistakes, plenty of time to forget it could have been you. I like it kind of up until like right there. And then I didn't walk to the west side. She was sleeping. All right. That's true. Did you ever own that day? Was it yours? I kind of like that idea, but then I hate this last part. I would swear this is unreal. This is guilty. There are just parts that seem cooler than others. Now, in doing this one time through, and one thing I want you to notice is that in prose, particularly in prose with a lot of dialogue, they're talking about a topic. And so they may have a lot of repetition inherent on that page. If you choose a page with repetition, that's like a bonanza for you. You kind of won the poetry lottery because poets really rely on repetition. It helps to make it sound cool. All right. So on this side, I borrowed and circled much longer phrases, and I decided on the flip side, my second go, that I was not, unless it was a very special circumstance, going to circle more than 2 words in a row. Okay, so I have, why am I turned to the pain? I know. How long before you're fortunate? Oh wait, it's hard, I know. How long until you're fortunate? But then I really like this. She folded her jaw to give her nerves to heart attacks. Exactly. How do you fold your jaw? That is the kind of imagery that you can kind of like visualize in a weird like Transformers style way, but it creates this very like, oh, you want to like get orthodontia right away. Okay? So I feel what I came up with where I only allowed myself, like I said, unless there were special circumstances, I think there was kind of a line like an instant bow affixed to a wrapped box. Like there were a couple of things that I borrowed longer lines, but really I tried to just limit myself to borrowing words or 2-word phrases. Okay? So that's an idea. And both of these worked in a very linear way. I tried with my 5th period example. So this is kind of where we're going here. I tried to kind of be a little bit curlier with where I use this on the page. So this reads, massive awakening, bolted down, bundled, an unreadable expression, holding on, he feared his presence. 200 feet for the ship, maximum forward thrust for yourself. Forward thrust, he's talking about like, I know Lance's mind like, what? And it's true, it's from a romance novel, but he's talking about like the thrust of they're on a boat. Oh. They're on a boat. Anyway, I thought about, that made me think about base jumping. And so the next step tomorrow would be to, what's that? No, we're not going base jumping. We don't have nearly enough insurance. But something that is inspired by the poem that you create, okay, the poem that you create, you're going to you can like freehand draw something on the page. This one I found a picture of and I projected it and then I traced it onto my page, which we can absolutely do for you too. Okay? So that kind of gives you a sense of where we are going. Now, let's do a practice together.
Yeah.
What time is it? Are we doing it again?
Almost 13 minutes.
13 minutes. Perfect. So, upon a wicked time.
You just killed the book.
Yeah, I know.
I
ruined everything. Upon a wicked time. The first step is to read through this without any context. I don't know what this book is about. Okay? But feet sliding beneath him as if he'd been skating on a pond. It would be a miracle if they were still on course. He doubted if the rudder was still intact. The force of the waves had the power to crush timbers into tinder. He looked up at the main mast again. The sea and the sky were the same color now. It's difficult to see the dark mast against the encroaching wave. If they capsized, they would die. It's a simple fact. The temperature of the water would shock them first, then lure them all to a quick death, all of them, even Tessa and Chalmers, who had fought tooth and nail to be left behind. He would have left them both at Kittredge. If they died, it would be his fault, his arrogance, his stupidity. Mine, a child's refrain, irritating but not grating himself, patently idiotic, voiced by a man full grown and criminal, if nothing else. Okay, so I read the entirety of this page, and then it already popped out at me something that I definitely want to circle, a simple fact. What else would we circle?
Water.
Water? Where's water? Water. A quick death.
They drowned.
Arrogance. What'd you say, Lance?
They drowned.
They drown.
No, I'm not. I'm saying they drowned.
Oh,
Holmes.
I don't know. We don't know yet. Mine? Yes.
If arrogance was gone.
Crush. Power to crush. Okay, so I highlight or I circle a bunch of stuff. Now, I don't black out anything because it's all at this stage about possibilities. Okay, even if you think you have something that you kind of like, all right, you may need an or the or a him or her, he, she, or whatever. Okay, so if I was to go in a linear fashion, like down the page, one sailor had the power to crush a simple fact. Water, a quick death, arrogance, mine, the next wave. I mean, it could work. You could also go in a totally different order. Okay, it's a little bit harder and you've got to think a little bit more, guys. You got to think a little bit more creatively about how you'd want to depict this so it's very clear to your reader how to read it. But if we start with arrogance, a quick death, the power to crush, water, water. I don't know where to go next, but you sort of see the idea. I'm gonna work on this one while you guys choose your own. You will notice that there is two novels represented here. Upon a Wicked Time by Karen Ramey is a saucy, like, whew, there were pages I was really glad I actually looked at while I was cutting out, because there's a lot of undulated flesh in that.
Sauce.
Okay. The second is called Suspicion of Vengeance. And it's by Barbara Parker. So depending on how you look at that, that's a murder mystery. Okay? But the key is, if you grab from the romance novel, it's not going to be a romantic poem. I want you to twist it. Okay? If you grab from the murder mystery, I don't want it to necessarily be a dark poem. I want you to twist it up. Okay? So, have at it. I will be adding pages because I got to keep tearing my book up. And if you don't like one side of the page, flip it over.
Oh my God.
Damn it, Tessa.
Oh, more work.
No, I know you.
All right, now we circle good stuff.
Now you circle good stuff. And that's the goal for tomorrow. Circling interesting words and phrases, knowing in what order your poem should appear.
Do you remember the first time I saw you, Jared?
Who's Jared?
Ask Tessa.
Tessa, who is Jared?
Tessa.
Okay.
Whom do you love, Tessa?
I do.
You guys, I found that Chalmers is not there.
And they call you.
I see the final word again. All right.
To my left, no, last time like every day fire. Fire in your face, every day. Maybe sit back there talking about her shit here. And so she like walk out of the room dramatically and sit in the hallway. She's like, hey, I need you to on her first day, I was like, on her first day.
He just wants to.
Like her first day of class, he
And then
Okay, then should he write it down?
no, just on the page. On the page, there's an arrow, just like,
She is quiet in the hallway. You gotta ask her.
As soon as I figure out. Oh.
So they would actually have like advice on somebody else. I can do some work.
Also, guys, it's the kind of like lead up, doesn't necessarily say this, but your final draft of this has to be no fewer than 20 words. So if that impacts what you're kind of like, how you're honing in on some stuff that you circle. But even if you think you like one half of the page, flip it over and just make sure that the other page may not be that. Are you, like, do you live here?
No, not be here like in person, I'll see you on airtime.
If we could send her a picture of the page.
Okay. Oh wait, I can stop my house.
Okay, then we can send a couple of options.
Yes, I go to. Wait, I like to. Yeah. How is your
Aloof means like you avoid, but you avoid, no, like to be aloof. Like for instance, if I'm walking down the hall and I hear a bunch of a group of kids swearing, I will be aloof because I don't want to like deal with it, you know? So it's like, ignoring it, but ignoring it. All right, you guys, I can't wait to hear about how these are turning out. Tomorrow is gonna be all about the illustration. So So if you've got special pens or markers that you prefer to use, feel free to bring those in. Hi, Bob. Happy 20th.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
I don't wanna be here.
Have a super duper day.
What is New York?